the office at the moment, so I've not been listening to it too much.
I'm hardly on there these days, so it's not like I used to do the paper review and stuff. It's all a bit different, isn't it?
Mm.
You're getting very good at the birthdays, though.
Rubbish. I'm like, so what did Jake say? What did he say? I'll just take the one in the middle.
I don't know if you listen to it, Keith, the birthdays he does in the morning. His name always escapes me. Paul, isn't it? That does it.
Boy, he's such a legend. There's a man who's a legend.
He's the announcer at Spurs. He does the announcing at Tottenham. And
he's got to be a legend then, isn't he?
I can't talk about that now.
Yeah, he's just phenomenal. Is he back there though? He's back now, isn't he?
Again, I can't talk about that. Only because I don't.
I'm sure.
No, I don't. I've been off work for. Well, I was supposed to go to Mexico, and now I'm stuck at home. Well, this is apparently Japan. So yeah.
Is that literally because of COVID?
Yeah, I couldn't risk. So I booked to go to Mexico for 2 weeks, so coming back on Christmas Eve, and then when they were talking about, putting everything in quarantine, that would have been $2,500 in a crap hotel, and then lost wages. I just couldn't risk it.
Where was you going? Where was you going in Mexico? Whereabouts?
Puerto Vallarta.
Ah, been there. Beautiful.
It was just like a total break. Yeah. So here we go. Never mind.
Yeah, weather would have been great.
Thanks. Yeah, just keep rubbing that. Really, here you go.
You sounded like Uncle Albert then. Yeah, I've been there.
Jenny, you're more than welcome to replace it to the lovely, stunning blue beaches of Whitstable.
Oh my God, my uncle lives down there, so it's fine.
There you go.
Well, there you go.
Come along to our derby on the 27th against Herne Bay.
No.
We'll get a few bottles of Soul out for you with some lime in them, just to so you feel like you're in Mexico.
Now that's kind. That's how it should be, right? Yeah. So basically, I'm in Le Tunbridge Wells, and yeah, I haven't seen the sun for 10 days. I don't even know what it looks like.
No, I know. Come out a bit. I'm not far. I'm sort of Dartford way, the easiest way. So we're not far from you. But yeah, weather's not great.
Oh, it's just rubbish. My friend came down yesterday from uni and from Eastbourne. And we said, well, we'll have a little stroll into Tunbridge Wells. It was like dead flat fog. And I was like, can we just go to Tunbridge Wells and get drunk? She went,
Well, that's what I ended up doing. Normal Sunday, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs Non League show. We're here for the next couple of hours of our Christmas special. Later on, we've got James Beardwell's going to be on. He's going to come on and he's going to be literally looking at somebody who been waiting to see him for a long time in Josh, of course, a drummer at Paul Town. So he's going to come and meet James at about 8:45 tonight. Michael Bridges hopefully will be joining us later on in as well, about 8:15 as well. Talk about Enfield Town. And Mark Harris, the Northern League chairman, may pop on at some point as well. But we start off. For me, it's a massive pleasure because I listen to this young lady every single morning when she's on there. She's an absolute laugh a minute, and the amount of times I've really crashed my car is unbelievable. But a massive welcome to Jenny Barsby. It's an absolute privilege to have you on. And,
thank you.
And of course, joining me as normal is Keith McMahon, of course, Keith. And Keith, I mean, just quickly with yourself, I mean, the weekend, 2-0 down, coming back, 2-2 must have been a massive for you.
Yeah, 1 at half time, Dave. I will say that it was entertaining. I would say it wasn't as mad as I have been, but yeah, we didn't play well first half, and as like everywhere, we were sort of hit with COVID with some players in the week and coaching staff. We was quite close to maybe getting the game called off, but we went ahead and the club had things planned for Christmas as well, which we need to be careful foremost on obviously everyone's health, but. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't happy at half time, but the lads showed a bit of character second half, and I actually thought we was going to go and win the game. But yeah, it kept our unbeaten run going, and lifted us up a little bit in the league as well. So positive all round, which is good.
Yeah, happy days. But Jenny, coming to you, mate. Literally, I listen to you a lot, and and there's a few times when I've been going on to TalkSport 2 when you've been on there as well, and and having your own little show. And I'm not just saying it because you're on here, but I still don't understand why you ain't got a permanent show on that radio station. I really don't. But
I don't know anything about football.
Jenny, nor do I, but I've been a manager 20 odd years.
If you work for TalkSport, I'm so lucky because I've been working for TalkSport 3 years in December. Well, it is December, so 3 years this month. And obviously, I do the news for TalkSport, but it doesn't mean I know anything about football at all. So though I do. I used to be a massive gooner, massive, and then I can't take the stress of football anymore. It's just honestly, I would have a heart attack and die. I can't watch football I can't watch anything actually. Oh God, I can't even watch you.
Well, I take it you've never been to the Culverden Stadium then in Tunbridge Wells?
Of course I've been to the Culverden Stadium in Tunbridge Wells. Blimey, what do you think I have?
Well, there you go then. You must have passed it when you was going to the fireplace shop. It's renowned, Dave. This fireplace shop, when you try and explain how to get to Tunbridge Wells' ground, obviously you come off the A21 and you're stuck in traffic for ages trying to get down through Tunbridge Wells, and then all you say to people, turn right at the big fireplace shop, and it's just down there on the right.
And they go, what? But there are many back routes in the Tunbridge Wells area. I think, was it Tunbridge Wells? Did we get to? We definitely got to Wembley.
The FA Vars final. Yep, I was there.
I was there.
Dave was in the cheap seats.
Yes, I was, yeah.
We got some press passes because I used to work at Radio Kent. My best mate Bill is still there, so we all went up there, and much fun and hilarity was had. Unfortunately, we didn't win. No,
2-0, I think, if I was right. I think Wroxham might have beat them, or it was someone up north. I can't remember. It might not have been Wroxham. I can't remember.
Somebody beat it.
Yeah.
But Jenny, how did you sort of get involved in radio in the first place? Because it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I know Keith's been involved in it himself because he did a non-league show, on Radio 5 with Caroline and Dave Anderson. So he's got sort of a background in it. But I mean, how did you get involved in radio?
So when I was a young thing, many years ago, I used to listen to sort of Steve Wright. Who used, with his posse and stuff and all that. But radio was massive for me as a child, and I always wanted to do it because I'm very, very quiet and not at all a gobby. And then it was just something I always wanted to do. And my parents split up when I was in my teenage years, and my father, my real biological father, said, "You'll never ever. Don't do that, it's rubbish." And when I told my stepdad Clive, who I met when I was 15, he was like, do it, go and do it. And then I did a degree in broadcast journalism at Nottingham Trent Uni. Got a first, don't tell anyone. And don't ask. And then, just went from there. So I started at Invicta Radio down your neck of the woods in Whitstable.
Yeah, I know it.
So I went in I was with a guy at the time. He was a guy I've been with for 10 years. His parents lived in Herne Bay, popped down for the weekend, and they were looking for a travel bint. And no offence to the travel bint. And I went along for an interview, and they said, "Oh, sorry, no good for that. Do you want to do the news?" which is what I'm qualified for. So that's how it all started, really. So I did 3 years, yeah. And then went to Radio Kent, and then went freelance and sprang off from there, and eventually ended up with TalkSport. I've got no idea how I ended up with TalkSport, but I have to admit it is the best job I've absolutely ever had, apart from the getting up at 2:20. It's brilliant.
So who is your favourite person at TalkSport? They're not listening, don't worry. Well, obviously. You're Dave's.
There's so many lovely people there. It's such an interesting station as well, because I'm not someone like Laura who knows her stuff. Laura Woods knows everything. She's such an intelligent woman, and she's passionate and she loves it. And Natalie is the same. Natalie Sawyer is the same. And I look up to these women, but I'm afraid I don't have the knowledge. I'm not that person, so I could never be I have been a presenter. I've had my own show, but I don't aspire to do that. What I do enjoy doing is the news on the radio. But I enjoy it. I'm working at a national station. I love Alan. I adore him. I'm his longest serving newsreader. I think that says something.
So have you been out for a drink with Alan then, like everybody else has?
I'm alive.
Yeah. I met Alan once in the Waterloo Bar and Grill, the sports bar that he used to go to before TalkSport moved. He always used to say he used to go there quite a lot, and we met him at racing quite a few times. And I like a drink, but it's good fun.
He doesn't drink now.
No.
But he's,
No.
you know what? I love him to death. I think he's amazing. Jim White, I'm incredibly fond of as well. He brings me a coffee every morning. He's very sweet, and I'm just in awe of everybody there. Really, I'm very lucky to work for such an amazing group of people, and they tolerate me, which is brilliant.
What's Ali McCoy's like? Because I've
Oh
listened.
God,
I've listened to some of the clips. There's been a few clips there on sort of like YouTube and stuff like that. And I mean, you know, and it's fantastic to sit and listen to when, you know, you and him are on there with Laura or with Alan, you know. But
yeah.
you know, there was another one I was listening to also today as well when David Seaman was on there, and you were talking about how big their hands were, you know, and that was just hysterical.
What a great story is that, David. So, because when I was a huge Arsenal fan, was the kind of David Seaman era. And then when he came to the studio, I remember just sitting there going, oh my God, it's David Seaman. And then we started talking about how large his hands are, which is fine. And then we started, this is me and Fletch. Do you know Fletch?
Yeah.
Ben Fletcher. So we were talking off air to David. I said, so how, you know, where does the name Seaman come from? Because you can't, this is all off air. So I'm in the studio. This is before I do the news. So you have to remember, I have to like completely hunker down to do the news. Talking to David Seaman, he said, my dad's brother was called Dick. I said, well, I'm just going to go and look it up. So I ended up going outside and investigating how Seaman came into being and the name and stuff. I'm not going to go into it here, but it was very, very amusing. But I think Ali is, I love Ali. I absolutely love him. He's beautiful.
Very knowledgeable as well, isn't he?
Yeah, of course.
Knows.
I've had quite a tough time in the last sort of 7 months. So I lost my partner in May, which was very difficult, very sudden. And I never felt so enveloped and loved by a group of people, including, you know, these people who are, I don't think of them as famous, really. I just think of them as my friends. So, you know, Ali and David and Al and, you know, everybody who'd come together and been so incredibly kind, and just, you know, David, you know, Darren Ben and Jamie and all these lovely people, which it's just been amazing. And I think when you sort of go through something like that, when you're not the biggest part of the team, you know, you're kind of over there, but they all come and give you a hug and make you feel so loved. I think it's been, you know, I couldn't have done it without them.
It just goes to show, sort of, you know, what you just said. Like, you know, it's not what you see. Maybe all people sort of think of people like that. Oh, they're sometimes big times, but they're not. They're just human beings that, you know, that have got a life and caring as well.
I can't remember the name of the chap now, which is very remiss of me, who died recently, who was Ali's coach.
Walt Smith.
Yes. And he was working on breakfast, and he was in bits. He was in absolute bits, obviously.
I listened to that morning because I thought, you know, he was like his dad, wasn't he?
Yeah. And he was in a separate studio, and they were all saying, could he come on, and I said, no, wait. So I made him a cup of tea. I went in, I said to him, look, what do you want to do, Ali? What do you want to do? And he's such a professional, but he, you know, and when he went on air, oh my days, just listening, you know, it was one of the most beautiful bits of radio I think I've ever heard in my life. because he was so honest and so beautiful about it, and he was so brave to actually do that. But I think he did him proud, you know.
Yeah, no, I listened to it. He did. You know, you
Oh.
thought, oh, but I think most things that Ali says, though, he sort of talks from the heart anyway, or he's very upfront and honest. I think that's why a lot of people connect with him. But yeah, no, I watched the whole of that. Or listened to it. It was tough.
It was really tough for him, and I was worried about him because I'd just been through, you know, and he'd been so good to me. And I said, if you don't want to do it, babe, don't do it. And he was like, I'm going to do it. And it was, again, I think, you know, the radio, I think, is very personal, and I love it as a medium, and I've always been in radio. And that day, that story, those beautiful anecdotes, and it was just beautiful, really beautiful. He was very, very brave. He's a beautiful man. They all are. They're great. They're all great. Even Simon Jordan.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I've got to be honest. If I am travelling and Simon comes on, I do sometimes switch it over. And I like Jim White, so sorry. But I can make it up for talk. I can make it up for Talk Sport if they need me, because I do love Laura Woods, and I do love obviously Alan Brazil. I think the morning show is brilliant.
Love a bit of that now. Love a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the cat.
Oh, here we go.
But for me, though, I'll be openly honest with you. I mean, I listen to it. I listen to the, you know, Alan's show and Laura's show and Jim's show, you know, and the shows that come on over there, and sort of Paul's show as well, of course, first thing in the morning as well. But it's one of those things for me, though, with it is that it when any other sort of newscasters on or news presenters on, there doesn't seem to be that connection there with the presenters. But when you're on, there seems to be that sort of massive connection there, that you're almost one of the team and you're involved in that show. You know, it's almost like Laura, Ali and yourself, or Alan, you know, Ali and yourself, or whatever. It doesn't feel like that you are the sort of like the newsreader in the show. It feels very, very much like you're so well respected by the people that are in the room. You know, but no, it does feel like that. It really does feel like you're part of that team. And I don't know if you've listened to Jenny, Keith, you know, it does feel like it, you know, and even when you see clips on YouTube and stuff like that, it does feel a little bit like you're almost the life and soul of that sort of little party that's going on in amongst it. But I mean,
I think that's what's been very difficult about the last sort of 7 months. And I will be honest about what's happened to me in the last 7 months. And it's not been easy at all. It's been horrific. And I've had such support. You know, I went back after a month and I had to leave the same day, just because I couldn't deal with it. But, you know, Laura, Alan, Ali, everyone has just been so incredibly kind. And actually, as I said, I think I said I was supposed to be in Mexico in the last week and a half, and I had to cancel my holiday because of COVID. And then I found it quite hard not to be around my support network. And it's not including just the on-air people. It's like the boys who do all the production, you know, Scott and George and, you know, Sam and Ed, DJ Ed, and all those other people that make that show, Max. There's loads of them. And they're only, you know, they're 20 years younger than me, and they've all been incredibly supportive. So I couldn't tell you how supportive they've been to me, and I miss them a great deal. And, you know, I've sat in the office and bawled my eyes out and, you know, just about to go on air and crying, and then you have to flip into the mode. I couldn't have done it without them. Not in a million years. Not any of them. Whether it's, you know, the cleaners in the office, or, you know, Al or Ali or DJ Ed or whatever. As a team, they are amazing, and I'm so incredibly lucky to work.
Do you think that's what? Sorry, Jenny. Do you think that's why the show I think it comes across and is so sort of well received, and everyone listens to it? It's such a great show because you can actually get that feeling from a listener that, you know, they're all together. Like you when you listen to, especially the breakfast show with either Laura or Ali or Alan and Ali, you sort of, it is that sort of friendly thing. They say stories. It's not like they're just talking about what happened in football. They're actually, you know, telling half their life stories and the fun part of it, and, you know, everyone joins in, and I think that's why it's so successful.
I think so as well, because I suppose for me as well, because I've been in radio a really long time, and I had a show for a little while, and I always felt it was important to be. I've never been a person who's that personality, and then off air I'm this. What you'll probably realise, what you see is kind of what you get, and I think the best radio presenters are the people that don't have a front. If you honestly give yourself to your audience and you share yourself, and it's a massive deal, to be really honest with people, but when you are, it makes them feel part of something, which is why I've always had such a passion for radio. I've never wanted to do telly, because radio for me, it's between me and you, or me and you. It's not between me and the screen. It doesn't matter what, even though I've got a lovely mural, it doesn't matter what's behind me or what the pictures are. When you're talking radio and you're honest with people, like with Ali, as you said, with Ali that time, or after Ray died, after Ray died, everybody was, I'd only just started at Talksport then, and it was just horrific. It was, people were so, you need that connection. I think that's what makes radio so different, why I love it so much, because it has that connection.
I mean, so what's some of the funniest things that have happened though on at Talksport? I mean, with yourself, and I mean, as I said, there's a lot of funny times on there where it does. It's a real sort of fun time to be at work. You know what I mean? So those jobs, I think everybody wishes they had. I think that they enjoy this, go to work and enjoy themselves.
I think I dropped the just I dropped the C-bomb or the F-bomb. I think it was the F-bomb. Done. I just came out, like, if you swear on air, especially as a newsreader, it's like, oh crap, oh shit, oh no. And I didn't do it that long ago, and I ended up, I can't remember what the sentence was, but it was actually about the Prime Minister, and everybody went, yeah, well, it's an absolute defence. But God, I think what I love the most about it all is, even if you could do the off-air stuff on air, we'd be sued. But the off-air stuff, and when I particularly love when Alan chips into the news. So I'm reading a really serious story about French fishermen who go, "It's the French." But he'll do that. But I love him for that. And there's so many fun times. I've done so many awful things. There's many newsreader stories about, this is not recently, by the way. It was about 10 minutes. No. You go in on a Saturday morning, you're so hungover, you're playing the clips, you're being sick in the bin, and these are big newsreader stories that everybody has. But yeah, I don't. There's so many fun stuff. But it's just the off-air stuff. It's just so silly sometimes. Like, I was reading the news the other morning, and Laura just said, "I'll just have a little sleep on the floor." For 2 minutes. But it's just you just get on with it, I suppose. I don't know.
How did you cope, obviously, in the lockdown with COVID? Obviously, when I think people like Ali and that was doing everything through Zoom, did it feel a bit weird in the studio?
It was quite weird, but I was in the whole time. Sport wasn't. Laura was in the whole time. Lo was in the whole time. Alan was working from home. And sometimes, Laura and I were always there. So, but what was strange, I was actually talking about this to my friend yesterday, from my uni friend actually, that it was kind of weird that during the whole pandemic, I've been in the whole time. Nothing had changed, but it got very quiet because most people were working from home. Laura and I were in the studio. Other people came in, Trev came in, Darren came in, Jamie came in. And then, and all of a sudden, it got to a point where everyone was in, and it was so loud. I couldn't get over the noise of the office because nobody had been there. There we have radio stations playing out. So I'm obviously under Talksport, next door is Talk Radio, down the hall is Virgin. you could hear all this hubbub and noise, but you hadn't had the people. And it was unbelievable, the noise. It was really weird. But I didn't work from home at all. Laura didn't work from home either. So we were both in the whole time. As was Jim. Actually, Jim was in the entire time as well. So he didn't ever work from home either.
So we've got, with the news reading, is it a case you go to different studio to give it, or is it all in the one place? So if you're doing it for like Virgin and you're doing it for Talk Radio, is it all in the? Does it all go out to St. Is it something recorded? I mean, what's the secret?
So this is I'll give you a little stint of my morning. Okay, so I will get up very early. But I mean, I live alone apart from my cat. She doesn't care. So everything sort of, my morning is, I go to bed at 7. I get up at 4:20. Lights on, radios on, different radio stations. Get in the car, drive halfway, get cabbed halfway, start doing my research in the cab, and then I get to work. And so my first job is to do the Times radio briefing, which is a new thing that we do for Spotify. So I start that at 4:05. That finishes about 4:30. So write all that, record all that, send that off. Then I have to write the Virgin 5 o'clock news. And the way it works, it's kind of weird. So it sounds a bit like technical, but we have news sources that we use. One of the news sources that we use, which is called IRN or /Sky, we can't use for Virgin. So I have to write everything from scratch, which, takes, so it's 6 stories, it's only a minute, but it takes a while. And then I have to do TalkSport as well. And then I come out of that, come out the studio, come back. And then I used to do the paper review. Obviously, things have changed now at TalkSport 2. So then I have to write my 5:30 headlines, start writing my 6 o'clock Virgin, again from scratch, start doing the TalkSport stuff. So I write everything myself. I pick the, editorially, I pick the stories. So for a TalkSport audience, if I start talking about, I don't know, ovarian cancer, it's not a TalkSport audience story. Of course it's not.
Well, now I know that you do that on a Monday or on a Wednesday. If we play, your first news story, your first headline will be the Whitstable Town result and how they're getting on. Because all the fans and everyone watching this are going to be going mad. So if it comes on at TalkSport, you can say, "Look, Keith said that we've got." I'm sure Alan will be fine about it.
But I don't do that anymore. So that's down to the sports guy. You have to get.
It's major news though, especially down in Kent.
Well, what can I tell you? But then that's the case of my morning is listening to the different outlets that we've got. So we have Times Radio, we have Talk Radio, we have Virgin, and listening across and clipping and doing things, and it's busy. I don't sit around just eating, chips.
Do you just, when you're actually reading the news and you look at some of it, especially obviously COVID's dominated it for a few years, and obviously now Boris is. When you sit there, do you actually sit there and think, "Oh, some of this is really boring. Who cares?"
I do, but then I won't include it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think you have to be quite careful, because my job is to give you the news, but I'm not going to give a TalkSport audience news about, I don't know, the royal family. So I might give you a bit about the Queen, but I have to think about, so a TalkSport audience is a certain demographic. So it's certain people, they love their sport, the majority of men, a certain age, So I try to, it's not skew the news, but it's make sure that the news I give people in my audience fits them. So with Virgin, for instance, again, it's a different audience. So I have to make a judgment about the news that they're interested in, that you're interested in when you're listening. I don't want you to sit there and go, "Oh, she's talking about vaginal mesh again." I'm not going to do it.
Well, depends on how the weekend's gone, I suppose.
There are choices to be made. So because I worked where I worked for a long time, and I work at so many different stations, I know a talk sport audience is different to a talk radio audience. A Times radio audience is incredibly different to a Virgin audience. So it's about making sure that I'm delivering the news that people want to hear, but also in an appropriate fashion. Else, in I'm not a hack, so I don't beef up stuff. I'm not a liar. I try and drill down to the truth as much as I can possibly drill down, which is important to me, and I think it's important to the audience as well.
When you go on, Dave, go on.
So just through the stations that you've worked at and before and now, have you sort of had that sort of fan moment where somebody may be coming in either on TalkSport or Virgin or whatever else that you think, oh, quick, I've got to get in there, I must get in there,
you've no idea. So I think, I worked at Absolute for a while. I've met a few people there, but when I was working for TalkSport, David Ginola. It's still my beating heart. I've met some amazing people. I think Virgin are a lot more musically based, so I'm a massive music fan. So when Elbow came in, I basically just died, and it was a bit embarrassing. And I had my Glastonbury T-shirt with had an album to sign. Please let me. But that was probably the biggest moment of my life because I've been a massive Elbow fan for time immemorial. So meeting Guy Garvey in the band was amazing. But then, what makes me laugh the most is I hang out at TalkSport, and I will hold my hands up. I'm not a massive, but I don't watch football at all now, because
that's what Arsenal does to you.
Yeah, exactly. But no offense, possibly. Now, if Thierry Henry walked in, I'd be done. But I sit in sometimes I go in the studio and people go, I say, who's that then? You go, Neil Warnock. Going, oh. But then you get someone like Neil Warnock who comes over and says, so funny because I know who he is obviously, but I'm Neil Warnock, and he said Jen, he said, do you know what, I love you reading the news. He said, I'll sit in my car and I'll wait till you finish your bulletin. I'll know it's never as bad as you say it is. It was so sweet. And then there were all the boys and the production, particularly Georgie boy, he's like that because he loves it. He's like, what? I have to admit, meeting Noel Gallagher was quite a thrill, a massive thrill. He came into the old studios as well, and he went, "Oh, I know you. You do the news." I was like, "Oh, shut up."
Is there anyone that sort of comes in regularly, like your Ray Parlours or whatever, that you want to be in the studio just to listen to them?
No. Do you know? It's funny, isn't it? I don't. Again, because of where I am, where they are, which is the difference between a football fan and a not. I love listening to them row, and sometimes I have to stand in between Trevor Sinclair and Simon Jordan. Those two, oh my goodness, they'll be rowing between, like the adverts will be on because I'm in the studio, and they'll be rowing. I'll be, guys, do you want to pipe down? But most of the time, I don't know, I'm so lucky. I work with such a beautiful, lovely bunch of people from the ground up, So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you have to pinch yourself sometimes, and even though it's really hard getting up so early and it's very tiring, I'm very lucky. I work in a beautiful place with some beautiful people. I'm very lucky, and I love TalkSport. I really love it. It's been the best job I've ever had, and that's 25 years in the business. Says something, I think.
I mean, if there's a young lady watches tonight or a young man watching this tonight, want to get into radio, I mean, what would you say to those guys?
It's so difficult. It depends what you want to do, really. I mean, we have a lot of interns, and I don't know how long radio will be on for, which is a worry, isn't it? I think it's got a longevity. I think it's got something, but then kids don't listen to radio anymore. I don't have children, so certainly my cat doesn't give a shit.
But unless something gets replaced in a car, which obviously it won't, and especially with TalkSport anyway, I'd say most people listen to that. But I'm not too sure. You know what you would if. I think in your house, not many people put the radio on anymore. I will say that, but unless, well, then you might put it on in your TV, mightn't you? I suppose.
I don't know, because I've got a 2 up, 2 down house. I've got 5 radios. So I've got one in the bathroom, which is downstairs, one in the kitchen next door, one in the lounge, one in my bedroom, one in the spare room. And I flick from different stations. For me, but I've been a passionate radio lover my whole life. And I think that's what's very interesting about particularly BBC local radio at the moment, which is where I started and which I was very passionate about, where they've basically a lot of big radio stations like, you know, the kind of Kiss and the Absolute and the Heart, they don't have local stations anymore. I told you about talking about starting Invicta, and this is where I think BBC local radio could win. But unfortunately, they're scaling right back. So you've lost that localness of radio, which is a shame. But what they've done in the BBC recently is bringing people in their early 20s. And I'm thinking, well, people in their early 20s don't even know what radio is. You know, they have Spotify or Apple Music or other things. I mean, I still buy vinyl, I still buy CDs, but I don't know. I'm hoping, but I think because of sport radio particularly, though, I think it's got a longevity. Would you say?
Do you? Yeah, no, I do. Obviously, like I said, while you've got cars and, you know, things like that, people will always sort of put the radio on. Do you sort of wake up, put the radio on just to listen to the news? So obviously, in case a big story's broke overnight, or, you know, is that the first thing you just switch into sort of work mode, or through the day do you do that?
I have to admit, it's weird, isn't it? Because I was never a news junkie at all. And then even while I've been off, I tend to put my phone on and look at the news now, which I think is a shame considering. But as I've said in my job, so my news bulletins are about 1:30, 1:45. I can push it for 1:50, I will. But as I've always said to my colleagues, my job is to give you the nuts and bolts. So here are the 5 main stories of the day, and you'll go, right, I need to know more about that. Well, I can't give you that. That's not my job. My job is to give you the nuts and bolts. And if you want more, you'll go online now. And that's how it works. So I will, unfortunately, still, even on my days off, you know, I turn my phone off at night. I don't have my phone on at all. I've got really old school alarm clocks. Alarm clock. That's just one of 3. And then, and then I'll scroll through the news and see. I'll scroll through the different websites but I think that's where news is now. That's what news is. It's different to what it was. But as I said, I think my job, when you're in your car and you're going to work and listening to TalkSport, if you don't see me, it's an ad break. But you do listen, you'll say, right, Jen's done 5 stories, bam, 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 bam. Right. If I want to know more about that, I'll learn more about that. If I don't, I won't. But I'll give you the bare bones, but that's my job.
Do you sort of read through the papers as well and just think, oh, that's a load of crap?
No. No, I don't.
I can't pick a newspaper.
You can't.
If I read something that's in the newspaper, I think most of it isn't true, or not 100% true.
See, I disagree. It's interesting because I probably felt the same a long time ago. Particularly, I worked for 20 years at the BBC, and now I've changed my opinion of the BBC. I feel Sky is more is not better, but I feel more informed. But then,
accurate, yeah.
I work for the same building, the same group of people as the Times and the Sun. So, you know, you can sit and weigh the two up against each other. I think the Times reporting is incredibly accurate. I also wouldn't say it's completely accurate. But then look at the Mirror in the last few weeks. The Mirror's exposés of the parties, of the, you know, the government's parties, amazing, amazing. And that's the Mirror. So, you know, you have to be aware that every paper has its agenda. You know, all papers have their agenda, and you could possibly say that because I work for the same group as the Sun and the Times, I might have an agenda. I don't. I never have done. And that's just me. And I try to, you know, I don't take my source from one place. So my job as a journalist, I feel, is so I have a story and I go, right, well, what does this, where is this, where is this, where is this? I don't have a great time to do it, but I will do it. And we don't have so say if you work for the Mirror, if you're wrong and you get sued, you can afford it. We can't afford it, and we don't want to get sued. I don't want to give you the wrong information. My job as a wireless broadcaster for TalkSport is to give you the truth as much as I can give you the truth. So that's what I do. So there was a lot more into it than just going, oh, I'll just copy and paste something from the Sun. It doesn't work that way.
I mean, with the likes of working with, you know, sort of Laura at the beginning of the week as well. I mean, she seems to, I don't mean it's the way this is going to sound, but she's almost come from all of a sudden, hasn't she, in the last 18 months.
Excuse me.
And now she's like, everything you turn on, there's Laura. In fact, you know, the darts is about to start on the TV screen in front of me. She'll be on that tonight.
She loves it. She loves it.
I mean, but I mean, one, what is she like? And two, if she's on, you know, if she's on holiday, have you ever thought about stepping in her shoes?
No, I don't know anything about it. I can't step into Lo's shoes. Laura is one of the most incredibly hardworking, intelligent, passionate women I've ever met in my life. Like, ask me about music. If you want me to talk about gigs, give you that. I can tell you anything. I love music from that to that. I could tell you anything. I go to festivals, I go to gigs. I'm not someone into sport. Laura is just the most. She blows my mind. Her knowledge, her and Natalie, Sonia as well, their knowledge, it's not a joke either. You can't, I can try, but if I don't have the passion for it, I could never do what they do. And I think what's interesting as well is never underestimate the amount of hard work and loyalty that Laura and Natalie have to their job, because not only do they have to know their stuff, because you do have to know your stuff, obviously, you also have to be a woman in that world. So
yeah, listen, I can vouch with exactly what you're saying, because with Laura, when she obviously, like I said, I was a huge Alan Brazil fan, always every single day listened in the morning, and when they obviously announced that he was going to cut his sort of hours and Laura was coming in, I was like, really? I'm not too sure about that. Within the first week, I was like blown away, because you want to listen to someone that you actually think but do know their stuff, and she knows everything.
It's a very different listen, obviously, because she's not a football player or hasn't been a football player. So the difference, you'll get a different listen when you're listening to, say, Alan Ali than you are listening to Lo and Ali. But what you mustn't ever underestimate with Laura is, again, or Natalie, these are two women I'm so incredibly in awe of, because I'm just not that person. I'm just not that. I could never stand in for them because I don't know anything about football. Except men look nice in shorts. No, I'm joking. But when I sit and I suppose, do you know what I found quite interesting actually when I started at TalkSport was the passion of men and football. And it's not all men, obviously, but if I said to George, or I said to Sam, or I said to Scott, one of our producers, who scored that goal on that day in that match? They go, that person. And you sit there and go, how the shit do you know? How do you know that? And I think, well, for me, the knowledge, and I've been very much in awe of it since I started. And this is only even with the young guys who never even were alive during those matches, when Ali scored that goal or Alan Brazil scored that goal in that minute with that, and how I cannot tell you how in awe I am of the knowledge of football fans, because it far outgrows even the knowledge of music fans. I'm sorry, it just does. And that's why I could never in a million years stand in for Laura or Natalie, because they were like, Jen. Because I don't know enough. And I would never be insulting to presume that I did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, listen, when you listen to both of them, I think that's a good thing that TalkSport have done, and obviously Sky, that you actually listen to them and they do know their stuff. You know, like I said, Natalie's a massive Brentford fan, and she knows, she knows the ins and outs of Brentford more than any supporter does, and Laura's very, very similar as well. And you do sit there and go, wow. And I think that's straight away, for, like you said, a woman in what was at the time more male sort of dominated, especially professionally sport wise. A lot of men was like, well, what are they like? But soon as, like, especially if you are a massive football fan and you listen to them and you get their passion, you're like, no, I want to listen to that. And like especially when Laura did take over, she asked different questions. She'll ask maybe a question that we would ask, whereas obviously Alan and that would ask from, like you said, a player's point of view. So you do connect that way.
Yeah, that's good. That's interesting. I like that, because it's a very different listen, and you have different opinions about it. But that's quite nice, because I think the same as you, that Laura or Natalie will ask different questions. So like Ali and Al will have a different rhetoric, and the football pundits will have a different rhetoric because they've been there, they've done that. Whereas like someone like Laura, someone like Natalie will ask, and they'll ask a different question. But I have to say, those girls, I'm just in awe of them. I think they're amazing women and so strong and so powerful.
I was going to say about the strength, because really, again, I know people keep going on about it's more equality and whatever nowadays, but from them growing up, they must have had a lot of knockbacks, and only strength and obviously what they've got would have gotten where they are now.
Could you imagine though? Because even now it's quite new to have, particularly. I mean, Laura was the first, female sort of breakfast presenter on TalkSport, and Natalie is just, Natalie's done her all that they do, what I would like no one to underestimate is the work that they put in. So I might clock off at midday, and then Laura might clock off at 10, but then Laura will go home, have an hour's nap, drive to Manchester, do a show up in Manchester for whoever, come drive back, get in at 2, get up at 4, come to work at TalkSport. She works so hard, and I couldn't. I mean, she's got a few years on me now, but I don't know if I could have done that. But that's the passion and the drive of those girls, and I'm in awe of I'm in awe of them all. I think
you did forget about her looking after her dog as well.
Oh God, don't talk about the bloody dog.
Seen the dog, Dave?
I've seen clips of it on her bits and bobs. But what baffles, what I like about her as well, and I think she's very, very good at this, and she's very good at one, away from the radio side of it, but she's very, very good at it when you see some of her social media stuff and bits and bobs. When someone makes a comment, shall we say, either a sexist comment to her or not a comment to her, I've never seen anybody that can come back as quick as she can.
She's good.
Drop straight away. And it's absolutely sensational. Some of the conversations when someone says something to her, and it bangs straight away, straight back in. She's got the answer for it. Literally within seconds, she's back with an answer. And I just read some of them sometimes, or when people screenshot when they put them onto.
Oh, they're horrible. I don't know how she does it, because I've been very lucky in my career that I haven't had too much crap to deal with. But I mean, to have that sort of stuff, you have sleep deprivation as well. You're getting up early. You're dealing with all that. You're dealing with all this. You're doing this, and you're in a very male orientated place, and then you get stuff like that. And though she, hopefully she won't mind me saying, and I hope nobody would, but even myself, like I would be. It's mortifying. It's hard to deal with when someone attacks you personally, particularly. That's why I've never done TV. Obviously, I'm not on the screen now, but that's why I've never done telly, because I have friends who are, do the weather in all the different radio stations or TV stations I've worked for. Oh my God, the stuff, the vitriol they get about, well, you look like this and you look like this. It's like, who the hell are you people? And to deal with that and getting up early and all the other stuff, I think
a lot of it, though, I think they obviously deal with it, that they know most of it's jealousy, because they maybe want to be where she is. Like I said, and I'm honest, I'm pretty straight, black and white, and David Terry. That like I said, when I first, especially at Talksport, I was like, oh, I don't know, because Alan's a legend. Alan's he's my alarm clock. But I'd love to go out with both of them. For one reason, with Alan, obviously, because you're going to have a right good time. But I would be just amazed just to listening to Laura's, like, just a life, basically. I could question her about football. I could talk football for hours and hours and hours. But I think she could. And like we said to David, I'm friends with Caroline Barker as well, doing the radio show with her. And I could speak to her all day long because of her knowledge as well.
Yeah. And I think that's what's lovely about it. So when you guys were saying, oh, why don't you stand in? Not a hope in hell. I can't. I would never disrespect an audience of football fans trying to stand in, because I don't have that. When you sit and listen to Laura, or you sit and listen to Natalie, or whoever you listen to, particularly women in this business, I've got a leg to stand on. I can tell you all about the news. I can tell you all about gigs, but I can't do that. And actually, it's quite freeing for me, because I'd always been in a situation where I wanted to be, when I was in stations, I wanted a show, I wanted this. And then I had a show in Nottingham for a year. It's not great. And then there was an Absolute, and I didn't enjoy that. And then I go to Talksport, and actually, the ambition I had, my ambition, was to read the news on a national radio station with 3 million listeners. But what I don't have is any envy or feeling of wanting something, because I can't do it. That's not my job, and that's quite freeing for someone in the business for 25 years, which I have been now. It's nice not to feel. Sounds awful, doesn't it? It sounds nice not to feel jealous, because I could never do what they do. I could never do what Laura and Natalie do. And in that respect, it's quite nice that I can just settle in my job and be in awe of the women that I work with.
I mean, to be honest, you listen to the partnerships on there, and I mean, one of my partnerships I always used to love on there was Alan and Mike Parry. I thought those two together were just outstanding when them two were on there. But I mean, when it came here, but now you've got that same sort of relationship with Ali and Laura as well. You've got that thing where you enjoy that sort of that partnership. Hawksby and Jacobs is another one I enjoy. But you've got that real nice sort of like camaraderie that they bounce off of.
It's really coming as well. It's quite difficult, I think, with the Zoom nations. It's very difficult particularly because I think when Laura started her show with Ali, it was all on Zoom. Everyone was on Zoom, and actually, it's not very easy. And as Ali's come down more, and it's easier with Darren's. Love Darren Benton, his trainers, bless his cottons. But they come in the studio. James in the studio, Trev's in the studio, and when they're off Zoom. On Zoom is difficult. If you're doing a show, I think, because at the beginning there wasn't even the TV screen, so it's very difficult. And it's got easier, but it's much, much easier when you can bounce off each other in the studio. So if Ali's presenting, sometimes he'll be in, and you can see he's looking at my facial expressions, and he'll say something, because I'm like,
Do you sit in the studio when some sort of people from the public ring in, as they do, especially in the morning, obviously through the night, and they're either arguing or they don't really know what they're saying? I'd love to be in the evening one when some of them ringing absolutely out off their face. Do they, once they sort of they mute themselves, either the Elliot presenters, do they come out with sort of things like, what are they saying, or this geezer's an absolute dick?
I couldn't possibly comment on that. Of course it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't worked late for a long time. When I first started at TalkSport just over 3 years ago, I got into the graveyard shift, and that was quite interesting. It was very male. I was like, but
well, it started because it's a lot of cab drivers used to ring in, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. And lorry drivers and everybody. I don't know about the evenings now. I'm asleep by 7. I mean, it's past my bedtime. Look at the time. Jesus. Even with my time off, I've been so bad. I'm like 7 o'clock. I'm done.
How do you sort of, your alarm clock, your body clock, how many days do you actually work at TalkSport, and then what do you get off? And, like you said, do you always, is it 7 o'clock? Well, I'll try and stay up for Coronation Street, but that ain't happening.
Don't do Corrie, love. Whatever.
No, there you go. Well, EastEnders then, where we are.
Oh, EastEnders, yeah. But it's been quite interesting because I haven't had any time off since my partner died. So that was back in May. And so I'm not, there's 2 types of early people. So there's early people that get up and have a nap in the afternoon, and then they stay up till maybe 10, and they get up I'm the person who gets up the earliest at 20 past 2. But most of my colleagues normally get up about between 3:30 and 4. Oh, what a lie. But for me, I've done earlies for years and years and years. I've done nights as well. I've done 18 months of nights. But for me, it's better that I go to bed at 20 past 7 and I'm asleep. So I get 7 hours, which is fine. But even I've been off for 10 days now and I'm still dropping off at 7. I'm still waking up at 20 past 2. Normally my cat doing this. Raid me.
You say you're more into your music in that. I mean, I think it must be going back 18 months ago or whatever else that Mr. Fletcher was doing a bit on one of the breakfast programs about his album collection. So I mean, does he go on and on about his album collection?
Well, Fletcher and I don't work the same hours anymore, which is probably a good thing. But basically, he talks to him about Belinda Carlisle.
Oh. How was you in when Rod Stewart was in the other week?
Yes. I was. Oh God, it was so funny. So he popped in. Jim was like, Jim loves him, and I love Jim. He's just been so beautifully supportive. I can't express. I'd like to be honest about what's been going on in my life, and I have been honest about losing my partner, and Jim particularly has been incredibly supportive. But him and Rod have got a real relationship now. Anyway, Rod came in the shoot. He's like that big. He was like, Jenny, hello. I said, oh, hello, Rod. Can you be quiet? I'm reading the list. No, but he was it's nice. I do meet amazing people. I've met some amazing people. I mean, even Chris Evans is just like someone who grew up, watching on telly, listening to the radio, and then, everybody's been incredibly kind. All the people I work, there's no egos in my job, which I'm really surprised at. There's none. We
talk about Rod Stewart, because Rod Stewart lives quite close to where I live, and I remember going into one of the local subways in Harlow, and we were going into the local subway in Harlow. We just walked in, and you sort of, as you walk into, it's a very, very tiny sort of like very, very tiny shop, and you just walked in, and there's like 2 tables, very, very high, sort of like 4.5 foot tables with stools by the side of them. As you just walk in through the door, and I've sort of gone. He's sitting there with his wife and his 2 kids, and it's like, wow. And you walk up and you go up to the queue, and then all of a sudden you go into the queue, and He's just sitting there eating his lunch and with the kids and the missus, and got to the queue and you get being served yourself, and the two people behind the back of the thing are going, "Did you just serve him?" She's going, "Who? Who?" He's going, "Rod Stewart."
Yeah.
Rod who? Rod Stewart. No, what? I've just served this. Didn't even realise she'd actually served him, and he's literally just sitting in the corner. Like, it was just so funny. And he was just sitting there. No one was disturbing him. No one was stopping him and going, "Look, can I have your autograph?" Like you'd expect with somebody as big as that sitting there. And everybody was just,
as big as that.
just completely ignoring him. Crazy.
No, it's interesting. We had Superman in the other day. I watched Superman. I don't know, it's some Superman bloke in the newest series. So he walked down the office. So where the offices are, you come into the reception. Joe, lovely Joe, who's our office manager on reception. Hi, Joe, amazing woman. Come around the corner, go through the dugout, come around the corner. It's got Talk Sport there. Then you've got the offices, so you've got Talk Radio, you've got Virgin at the end. So Superman was in. Do you know who that is? I don't know.
It's Clark Kent, isn't it?
That's the
That's it. There you go. Now I know who you are.
There he is.
Oh.
So he walks down the office. I don't watch anything like that. So he's strutting down the office. And he's like this. He's very small. Also, it's all these people, and then I'm sat there, and he goes, "Hello," and I went, "Hello," and then all of a sudden, 100,000 people came down, including Darren, Ben, Laura. They left the studio. They're running down the office. Superman's in. It makes me really laugh because it's like, "Give me your Darren Ben."
Yeah.
So we had to get his photo with him. It's very funny. It's very funny.
Does that happen a lot though? Does that happen a lot when somebody walks in and everybody sort of goes a bit pie-eyed when they see him?
But I don't know, because they're all quite famous, aren't they? They meet them all the time. So I think this was a bit different because I'm guessing he's American. I don't know. But
that's what I mean. It is though, because obviously anyone going into Virgin, all the music, like you just said, no, they're massive football fans. So if they met someone from their side, or Harry Kane come walking in, they would be absolutely besotted. It's vice versa.
When Ali's in your stuff, because everybody loves Ali, so you'll have Noel Gallagher, but Noel Gallagher's in all the bloody. Stop phoning, Noel. No offense. Stop ringing. So Noel's in, or whoever's in, they'll be like, "Oh, it's Ali. It's Ali up there. Can we just pop up there?" And then Chris Evans is like, "No, really, on my show." So he'll creep up and meet up with Ali, which is quite fun. But it's kind of strange because I guess because I'm not this, as I say, if Thierry Henry walked in, or I don't know, Vieira walked in.
I'm sure he will. Well, you've got a chance of Vieira coming in now.
Well, you say that. Who knows?
Well, we're sending the show. Now he knows, Jenny, that you've been on here and you're waiting for him to come in. He'll be in. It's only down the road.
Yeah, I'll come running up there before Vieira comes on as well. Yeah.
I did go to Highbury to watch a game, actually. My friend had a season ticket. I remember being in Highbury, she's like, "Vieira." Every time he's on, they're like, "Jen, that's like 20 years old."
That's why I thought Ray Parlour would be right up your street.
Oh, I love a bit of Ray. He's so sweet. He's an absolute sweetheart. They all are. I'm just very lucky because, you know what? I think the nicest thing about everybody that I work for, whoever they are, whoever it's Ali or Laura or any of the pundits, they are so lovely, and so they don't dismiss you. They don't sit and think of you as nothing, even if you make the tea, or if you're one of the people that come and bring them the tea. They're just so lovely. They're all just. I haven't met one of them that I dislike.
Apart from Simon.
He's not at all. He still says thank you.
No, yeah, that's fair enough.
No, he's lovely, and he always gives me an orange. I feel like I've made my Christmas.
No.
No,
So he doesn't tell you. He doesn't tell you every day that he owns Crystal Palace and he spent £100 million of his own money.
Crystal Palace. Come on, love.
That's what I mean.
He's lovely. They're all lovely, and I suppose sometimes doing something like this, when you actually take a step back and think, shit, I work with these lovely people. And then, and again, you know, I hark back, but the last 7 months have been helping me, and I've never had so much support from so many lovely people. Not just them, but the listeners, and the support has been amazing. And
Jenny, did that surprise you, or is that just sort of showing what sort of person you are?
I don't know really, because I've never gone through this. Obviously, I've never done this, and it's not just Talk Sport. It's been Talk Radio. It's been Virgin. It's been Times Radio. Everybody's been so incredibly supportive, and I don't know if that's anything to do with me or just the fact that people are bloody nice where I work, and they are. They really are.
I mean, Keith, I know you've just asked Jenny that question, but I mean, I listen. You know, so I said to you know, for me, when Jenny just comes on and does the news, it's a disappointment. Do you know what I mean? Because you want it to stay on and have a laugh and a joke with everybody else that's actually there. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, when that unfortunate event happened for Jenny, and you know, and I saw it on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you made it public on there, I sent a message myself, and but the outpouring of affection didn't surprise me at all. I do think you underestimate how the people, the listeners think about you. I'll do honest, because I think you're fantastic on there. I really do, and I think you're a breath of fresh air when you come on. And you know, as I said, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you, and especially the last few Friday mornings when you've been on there doing the birthday spread thing, but there with Paul and that. It's been fantastic. Yeah.
That's wrong. What are you talking about? But Paul, I have to say, Paul Coy is one of the most talented, amazing presenters I've ever met, and I love working with him. We've got a real camaraderie. It's quick. I really like it.
He's just brilliant. And I say the other day when there was somebody on the phone, I think as well, when you were on as well, and they had a viewer on the phone as well, and it was just so funny. It was just so funny.
Oh yeah, he was good, wasn't he? I'll do what he said.
Yeah, it was just brilliant.
But yeah, we'll see. But at the moment, you know what? I'm just incredibly lucky. I've got lovely listeners and brilliant support at work, and from the top to the bottom down. You know, yeah, it's been a tough 7 months, but I feel very privileged to work where I do, and thank you for having me on.
Your personality is unbelievable. I will say that it does shine through.
Thank you.
For me, and I will say this as a really big fan of yours. You know, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight, and I really appreciate you coming on. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Really lovely. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, anytime you want to come on with Laura Woods, you're both more than welcome to come back on.
I knew there was a bloody side.
And you're more than welcome to pass her number on. I need to say that really quietly. Being Christmas and all that, that's all. In case you want to go to a pantomime or something.
Okay. Who are you going to be in the pantomime?
I'll be the other end of the donkey. Because if this goes out, I'm going to get my ass kicked anyway.
Don't talk about Arsenal. What have I told you?
Oh yeah, well, she's an Arsenal fan, which was a bit of trouble.
So just right, I'm off now.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jenny. Have a
absolute privilege. Thank you.
Have a great Christmas.
Have a good Christmas.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
What a privilege that was to have her on. I must admit, as I said, that's exactly what she's like on the radio.
Yeah, I've heard of Dave. How bubbly was she, though? I tell you what, especially what she's gone through, you know, and she was saying about how strong they are, but, you know, you're not, I think she can't discount how strong she is as well.
Without a shadow of a doubt, literally without a shadow of a doubt, she's a very strong lady. I'm looking at my phone, so I do apologise for anybody that's actually watching, you know, at the moment. But I'm trying. Someone's just texted me that said that they may want to come on, and this is a gentleman as well that Keith knows that.
Excuse me.
Give a lot of time for, and has been not well lately, to say the least. And he's just texted me saying that he may be available to come on and have a chat with us tonight, which will be fantastic. And of course, I'm talking about the one and only Mr. Anthony Hughes. So I'm just busy sort of trying to do this. We are expecting Michael Bridge about 8:15, hopefully, if he's on. But so we'll try and get Anthony on for 8:30 tonight, and we'll get him to come and have a quick chat with us. We don't want to sort of have him on for too long. I don't want to sort of tire him out or anything like that. No sort of areas. So.
Why you sort that out, Dave? Obviously we've had a message earlier on from obviously Jason from Soham, just wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Good to hear from him. Obviously we're not, people can still message in and ask questions and that. I know we haven't done that for a little while, but Jason's obviously been a big fan of the show and a big part of the show for years, and hopefully Soham are doing okay, and he's getting ready to have a good Christmas. He likes his beer.
Seen plenty of photos of him being out in fancy dress and all the rest of it. But as you say, we're hoping that Michael Bridge will turn up and come and have a chat with us. And it's quite amazing, Kev, I suppose, in a way that you've got these sort of people on the TV, celebrities on the TV, and they do support sort of non-league teams as well.
Well, they've been there before, Dave, as well. They've been where we have, or they watch their local football club. As you know, a lot of top football and celebrities sent me some great videos for a young lad, obviously, at my club. I don't really want to go into it because I said I wouldn't, but it's exactly what Jenny said there. A lot of people do give either professional footballers or other people that are celebrities a bit of a hard time. There are some that can be you could say arseholes, I might as well put it out there, but most are just human beings like us, and that will do everything for you. So I think it's great that they do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you think of people like, I know we mentioned quite a lot, but the man that sort of comes to mind in that sort of side of it is Tony Gale. You ask Tony to do something, and you don't expect to get a response as quick as you probably do most of the times. You actually get something back quite quickly from him almost every single time, and he gives his time up and quite regularly to come on as well. So he's lovely. But then there's other people, which somebody that I've been trying to get on the show for a long period of time. Shall we say that's he's on Sky, and just want them to come on and have a chat about their football club and about their sort of non-league days and stuff, and you never get an answer back. So it's as you say, some you do, some you don't, and but it's fantastic that these people come on. But I mean, I suppose while we're waiting to see if Michael comes on, I mean, I suppose we really could talk about Christmas fixtures and so forth. I mean, the Premier League today have announced that they're not going to take a week off, but do you expect the people like Nick and Mark and Terry and that maybe to having meetings with the FA and maybe?
Yeah, I think from last week's show, I think Nick sent a message to say that they were talking to the FA there, and I know for a fact, speaking to them, that obviously the rules are slightly changed. I think they need to be sensible, Dave, as well, because when especially at a club on non-league, I can even say let's use my club as an example. Now at Whitstable, we've got an absolute great committee and a lot of volunteers that do things for nothing. I think you just got to look at their health as well, and what they're doing. And it's all right saying, "Oh, you got 3 or 4 players with COVID. We'll bring your youth team lads in, or go and sign some more." But realistically, at our level, who would want to come and sign for a club that they know that they've got COVID in? They don't want to put their family at risk. And I said to you before, we've got 4 or 5 under 18s that have maybe only been single jabbed, and not because of their choice. Because obviously, the government sort of they're working their way down from the most vulnerable all the way down, which is rightly so as well. So why should you put their families at risk because they've only had 1 jab? They've got a mum, dad, a granddad, and it's hard for non-league clubs as well at the moment. And we spoke about the Premier League to the WSL. You said earlier about the percentages of them, but it is hard, and I think you've got to take that into consideration. So I'm expecting, obviously, that all the leagues, and if the gents come on in a little while, they'll maybe explain. They'll be government-led first. Obviously, if Boris comes out and says after the 27th, no, there's no crowds, the Premier League can get away with that. We can't. I'm expecting, we're meant to go into Herne Bay on the 27th. I'm expecting maybe a crowd of close to 1,000 now, which is massive for Herne Bay, maybe financially and the clubs themselves. And I've got strong doubts that game will go ahead. I really have, because of they'll be government led, and without that, Herne Bay's must be sitting there thinking, well, that's a big earner for us. So if they can't have a crowd, they need to postpone that. So we'll see what happens. It's not just stuff, like I said, we can go around. I looked at the Hastings had 1,300 there at the weekend, and take their games away, or take them local derbies away. That's a big money earner for them clubs. But as we've said before, when I wasn't a manager last year and etc., people's health have to come first, and that's something that you need to do. So if it is the passports, or I don't know, you've got to put them before. For me personally, and I'm looking at the youth situation. We've got what we call the Kent Youth League here, and I had to call my game off on Sunday morning because we had 3 people, young boys, that tested positive Sunday morning, Dave. I wasn't too pleased with the response I got from the club we were playing against, if I'm honest. I'm not going to name them, but I thought it was a disgrace, an email they sent about expenses. I think you've got to look at that. Whereas now, if you looked at the youth, you could, that was maybe most teams last week before Christmas. They could have 3 weeks off now if you cancelled all the fixtures last week, which quite a lot were. And the league, to be fair, did give the option of maybe looking to postpone. And I think if it's only 2 or 3 weeks out, you can fit them games in really easy. And if it's only 2 games now between the Eastern League for the new year, you can fit them 2 games in really easy as well. So I don't think it's going to affect them too much if they do be sensible. So I think we need to look at that.
But would they be thinking as well, leagues? I mean, you're talking about you've got a big derby. You look at the Premier, you're looking at Eastern Prem this weekend. It's probably the biggest local derby for a long, long time around this area, with Enfield against Cheshunt, third.
Yep.
Big crowd going to be there as well. Also at the weekend. Would sort of leagues be looking at that going, well, hang on a minute, we could be taking money away from these teams, because if you then move that game then to a Tuesday night, are you going to get, say, like you just said, 1,000 possibly at Herne Bay on Monday? But if you put it onto a Tuesday in February, are you then going to get 1,000 people turn up for it at a quarter-8 kick-off on a freezing cold Tuesday night? So would the clubs also have a little bit of a say in that as well, to say, well, hang on a minute?
Possibly, but then, you could say that, but then if things keep going like they are people not going to go to them games? Because obviously, they're worried as well. As much as people on the news, and it's one of the questions to sort of ask Jenny, and, do they believe it? But it's, people might sit there and go, well, yeah, but Boris, you've done that last year. Or they actually sitting there thinking, well, I'm cancelling my Christmas party or my night out because I'm worried about the families and that are involved around me. So some supporters are not going to go because of that reason. I know you're outside and the differences, but you still go in the bar, you still have the whole experience. Yeah, so you may lose 20-30% of the crowd anyway, Dave.
I mean, you say that. I mean, the missus itself, she won a couple of tickets to go and see Gary Barlow on Friday night. One of those sort of things. He was apprehensive. I don't know if I want to go. Don't know if I want to go. We went in the end, and we went to see him. But I've never seen the O2 so empty in all my life. And you could tell that this sort of had affected probably how many of the crowd. You probably could have fitted every single person in that bottom deck of the O2. And literally, we were sitting there, and there was no one around us at all. Like, no one around us. It was, 2 metre distance, or whatever you want to call it. I know it was inside, but the air conditioning on full pelt. But you literally were, no one anywhere near you. So I think there's a lot of people are looking at it, as you just said, going, well, this close to Christmas, I don't fancy it too much.
Yeah, well, especially this close, because you are worried. Like you can see, I've still got the cough from 3 weeks ago. Tested negative. Still the same, but you are worried. I've got my family coming over. I said this before. I've got my mum coming for Christmas Day. I don't want to put her in any risk. No. So it is something that people are aware of. But sorry again, I just do think that now that they are looking at that a little bit more long term. Is that, oh, do I want to go there? So I think they are being a bit more responsible as well.
I'll just give Anthony a call because it doesn't look like Michael's going to join us tonight, which is unfortunate, but we'll see if we can get Anthony as well. And if Michael comes on, then we'll talk to them both at the same time. So, but it's a difficult scenario, I suppose, for the clubs, and you know, and has there been any sort of feedback from the leagues that you know of as manager of how many people you can have off with COVID before?
No, obviously before the weekend, you had to, you know, if you could have 13 players, then you had to fulfil the fixture. But again, I think now that they've looked at it, I think they're going to look at it each individual case. If you know, speak to the league, they'll look at it. Because like I said, it's, as I just said, you might have 13 players that you can field, but 4 of them are under 18. And their parents don't want them because they can carry it to them, etc. And like I said, can you sign some? You know, if one of my players went, oh, I'm going to go and, you know, can I go on loan as a dual registration to, just as Jenny said, Tunbridge Wells, because they've got a COVID outbreak in their team, I'm going to go, not really, no, because I don't really want you there. You know, you don't want you bringing it to us, etc., etc. So it is difficult, but I do think, you know, the leagues now, especially, I think they are waiting as before, as the government or FA read that they'll be a bit more lenient. I think that also helps, Dave, is that for the first time they put something in place that if it did go to points per game, if it did go to that, they've got that case. So I do think there is a little bit of a sort of backstop from as well now.
Well, Keith, I'll interrupt you there because this young man that's joined us is an absolute privilege. This has absolutely made my Christmas. I can tell you. I know we're not there yet, but this is seriously, I can't tell you how overjoyed I am to see the gentleman that's actually here to join us tonight. And Anthony Hughes, it's an absolute pleasure to see you, sir, and looking so well.
Yeah, it's nice to be here, mate. Yeah, and it's nice to feel a little bit normal, I suppose, and do normal things. So, yeah, I'm delighted, mate. It's nice to see you guys as well.
I mean, how are you feeling in yourself?
Yeah, great. Touch wood, thank goodness. Yeah, as you know, I've been having chemotherapy for 5 months now, and some of that has been pretty brutal. But the chemotherapy's been sort of toned down a bit now, and will be my last 3 chemos now is in the next fortnight. And then I'm hoping that might be it. So the last scan I had showed it was in remission, and I'll have another scan in January. But listen, I feel absolutely fantastic. You know, as I say, it took me a few months, but you know, I feel like normal now. You know, with a bit less hair, but I feel like normal. Other than that.
And of course, your boys got a good result on the weekend.
Yeah, nice little boost from. They're on a tough time of things, a real tough time of things. They found it awfully hard to put a new side together after having sort of a year off. But you know what happens in football now and again, gents, as the season goes on, 1 or 2 lads who were with you previously seem to filter their way back, and the team is generally getting stronger and stronger. So listen, it was a lovely boost from. I saw some of the game. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but because of this chemotherapy, they reckon you're neutropenic, so you can pick up any infection. So they've sort of stopped me going to anywhere where there's any sort of semblance of crowds. Not that the crowds are huge at Merthyr, but so I've been keeping away on doctor's orders. But I managed to find a little space in a local park where I can look down on the ground and see 2/3 of the pitch. So I watched 2/3 of their last home game against Hayes and Yeading. And to be fair, Hayes and Yeading were far too good for them. And it finished 5-0. And I was a little bit worried and concerned for them. So for them to come back and get that point on Saturday, I think has been massive for them. Having been 2-0 down at half-time. I just hope it'll give them a little bit of confidence. And they're not looking to pull up any trees, but obviously we desperately want to stay up the bottom four. So that's the goal, I think, and hopefully onwards and upwards.
We were just talking about, of course, the fixtures coming up over Christmas.
Yeah.
We're all a little bit nervous down this area. Whether or not they may happen or may not happen. And I mean, I know you're sort of not maybe a little bit out of the loop at the moment with things, but I mean, what's your sort of understanding on it? Do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're watching things closely. I've been speaking to people a lot over the last week or so to try and get back into the swing of things. And yeah, we're in the situation where we want things to continue. Until somebody makes an announcement to say things are going to be different, we're just going to carry on as normal. It's not easy. You're having to manage certain situations where clubs are affected by the virus. But we have to adopt a policy, if you like, of evidence-based testing to decide whether fixtures can and can't go ahead. And
how do you do that, Anthony? Sorry to interrupt you, but obviously, I was saying to Dave, we nearly cancelled our game at the weekend because we have had, through the club, some COVID things. But, in London, we've got issues where we've got some players that one couldn't get a PCR test, haven't got any lateral flow tests at home because they can't get them either. So as a league, how do you do that? If you say, well, I need to see the test results, well, they can't get, they've done one lateral flow test, but their PCR test, they've had to get one sent to home because they couldn't go somewhere or they couldn't get booked in for another couple of days.
I understand completely. I think, I spoke to the league office today, funnily enough, about that subject and wanted to see how the weekend had gone. And there were fixtures that were postponed and there were fixtures that went ahead that people had asked to be postponed. And I don't know if we're in rather a fortunate position, perhaps compared to you guys in London. But the clubs that had the game postponed were able to provide evidence, and it's all based upon the availability of the number of players that's registered with the league. That's what we base it on, whether the games go ahead. Now, there are little idiosyncrasies that can come into that, and I think we have to take account of them. And I'm talking about dual registered players who perhaps may be registered in the Southern League with one club, but their main club may be in a Step 5 league. And if they've played like once or twice, in a couple of League Cup fixtures, I don't think it's particularly fair to hold that player as a registered player that is available for them for the Saturday. So, listen, I'd like to think we do a lot of it by conversation. As a league, we've taken the decision to allow evidence of PCR and lateral flow tests. I don't know if all the leagues are taking the same stance, to be honest, but we felt it necessary that we had to have some sort of trust in the people that we're dealing with. So if somebody says to us, look, here's a lateral flow test, we've taken it, and it's positive, then I think until we receive information saying any different, we have to take their word for it, It's too serious an issue to doubt anybody's integrity, in all honesty. So we made that decision. Now, at the moment, that's been working. We did have a case on Saturday, where a game, there was a request for a game to be postponed, and that went ahead. And I sought some clarification on that this afternoon. And the reason it did go ahead was because the club was unable to provide any evidence of lateral flow tests and PCR tests. Now, I'm not aware that they actually said to the league office, look, we couldn't get them. I think it was just the tests hadn't come back in time. So as far as we were aware, they had enough registered players, and that team happened to play Saturday and win the game. So that's not particularly relevant, but at least it shows that they were able to put out a decent strength side, I suppose. But listen, it's not perfect science, that's for sure. And we're just trying to do the best we can, I suppose, to keep the games going, because the one thing that's kept me going, sitting here for the last 4 months, is making it feel like a natural season. It felt like we were having a normal season and football was ongoing. And and it was great, you know. And I'm just hoping, you know, that this new variant will be hopefully not as serious in terms of hospitalizations and fatalities, and that it might be a milder illness. I know nobody knows that, but I think that's my great hope at the moment, for us to be able to keep going. Because we've always said at this level of the game, that if certain circumstances come about that we can't have spectators and clubs can't have income, then our level of the game isn't really viable. So, you know, behind closed doors is not an option. Maybe it could be for the odd week or two, but after that, I think, you know, we have to seriously look at how things are going. But
so basically, actually,
sitting and waiting, Keith, waiting for announcements to see if anything changes.
I think that's what we see. I think everyone's waiting for a government announcement, aren't they?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're watching it every day. You know, I had a couple of calls today from clubs who said, you know, is there any plans for you to meet and decide what to do? And I said, no, but that could change tomorrow. You know, with all year available, knowing that a decision that's made, you know, in Whitehall, that, you know, could affect everything, and we'll be meeting very quickly to sort of decide what's best to go ahead. But it's not easy by any stretch of imagination. It really isn't, you know.
I mean, you know, as an important person, have you been invited to Boris's Christmas party this year?
The person? No, yeah, I haven't. Tickling me, that did. I'm sure there's a few going on. I couldn't even go to the Southern League Christmas dinner. I joined the board meeting by Zoom, and they were all in attendance, and they went off to have a lunch last week, but unfortunately I couldn't make it, on doctor's orders, that's all. And then I'd have loved to have gone, I have to say. And I've been triple jabbed and everything, but I've promised the family I'll follow the rules religiously up until I finish the chemotherapy. And then I got to start living a little bit, Dave, unfortunately, after I told them. So I'm going to see some football after, whether they like it or not.
Well, I mean, with the, you as you said, with the football, I mean, have you been following it as closely as you possibly can, though?
I'm probably... Because, Dave, I'm not at the game on a Saturday afternoon, I'm following the leagues rather than the game. So, I'm following it as closely as ever. You know, I'm sitting in the living room, the telly, the laptop, the phone, the lot. And, it's great, you know. You can, you know, and sometimes there's even radio commentary of games, you know, which you have at Harlow, and I've benefited from a few at Merthyr. There was one at Farnborough recently that I listened to. And, it's kept me going. The football's kept me going, I got to say. All football, you know, it's you know, I've been in a situation where I've had to be stuck indoors for the past 5 or 6 months, but it's only football that's kept me going. So it's no different to when I'm going out. It's only football keeps me going when I'm out and about anyway. So, no, it's been okay. You know, you know, I'm okay. People far worse off than me, and hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel for me now.
And I suppose you was kept busy with all of Jason's emails?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, in fairness, I have to say, you know, the FA and the league have been brilliant. They've stepped in for me, you know, an awful lot, which I'm really grateful for. And there were times over the last few months where I thought, should I be carrying on? Should I be drawing a line under this and just concentrating on getting back to as best health that I can? But the truth is that when you're not well and when you're going through things, you're not really thinking straight. And as soon as I start feeling better, the enthusiasm is there like ever. And I can't wait to find out what's going on and to get to the next meeting. So I'm awfully glad I didn't do that. And, you know, as I mentioned to you, I think earlier today, that, you know, I'm now... I went to the board meeting last week, and I'm ready to get back into things. I've had a chat with the FA, I've had a chat with the league, and everybody's been fantastic. And I want to get involved again now. You know, I'm eager to get back in the saddle, if you like. Trust that now I'm eager to get back. We got COVID rearing its head again, but listen, that's life at the moment. There's nothing we can do about that, is there?
I don't know if you heard me talking just you joined about, obviously, you know, the leagues have got things in place now. Do you think that is, that now clubs that do know if it did come to a bitter end, which I don't think it will, to be honest with you. So I think you said the jabs have felt. I think we possibly could. I think we possibly could get a gap, but a lot of fixtures have been played. We're nearly halfway through. Most people's second half of the season haven't got lots of midweek games. I know we've got bad weather to think about, but do you think that a lot of teams are a little bit more relaxed, and the leagues themselves, because there is, they do know that there is a scenario that at the end it has been put in place just in case?
Yep, Keith, I do. Maybe relaxed is not the right word, but I don't think they're as nervous as they were. No, I think you're absolutely right. We decided at the start in the summer that, we had to get a conclusion this season. We had to come to some sort of conclusion this season after having 2 years of complete stagnation. And, that was never going to be acceptable a third time. So you're right. And I think you're right. We've played an awful lot of fixtures now. And I think everybody's a little bit more optimistic that between now and the end of April, and we have got a contingency plan of a couple of weeks in May if they are necessary, that, I would love to think that we will play a substantial amount of football between now and then. And, and hopefully, it was said in the summer, if we got past 75%, we would look at basing promotion and relegation on those figures. And I think that's what we're all hoping for. But I think you're right. I think everybody's an awful lot more optimistic than we were before. We know an awful lot more now than we did before. Mm-hmm. And the vaccination program has changed the world in terms of, I speak personally. I'll be very surprised if this country ever goes back to another lockdown like we had before. I cannot see that happening. There may be restrictions that will come in, but I can't see us going back to how we were at the start of perhaps 2020, or the middle of 2020, where we were literally, everything was closed down for a long period of time, and you were basically locked indoors. I can't see that happening again. Maybe for a fortnight, but I think they're more fire breaks than permanent state of mind. We have to start living, surely, and we have to start getting a bit normality. I don't know how some businesses have coped, I'll be honest with you. When you look at hospitality industry, which a lot of our football clubs are involved in, and Christmas was their panacea, that hopefully was going to build things back better. And they must have been damaged this Christmas, with everything that's gone on till now. So, I would like to think that we're an awful lot wiser as a country than we were before, and an awful lot better prepared. You never say never, do you? I never saw this coming, that's for sure. But I'd like to think that whatever happens, that we will have a scenario that everybody knows about firsthand. As you said, Keith, people know what the procedure is going to be and how things are going to be worked out. So it won't come as a huge shock to anybody if the worst was to happen.
No, I agree.
I mean, it's on a plus note, though, Anthony. I mean, in the Southern League, you've got a few clubs there that have done really, really well in the FA Trophy.
Really well. Some of the results. That result for Plymouth Parkway on Saturday was fantastic, wasn't it? To be fair, but it was a hell of a result. And Needham Market beating Wheelstone. And I think Larkhall through as well. Yeah, we had some great results. I was pleasantly surprised, Saturday. Dulwich had, a very good side. And we played down in Plymouth Parkway earlier in the season in the FA Trophy, funnily enough. And they beat us 1-0. They scored at the end. And we, I wasn't there, but I know that the guys were quite pleased with the performance, because Plymouth Parkway are a decent side. And at the time, we were in the situation where the team isn't as strong as it is now. So I think they feared going there, but I think it was a game that could have gone either way. But the result they had with Dulwich, I thought was fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of these here, some of the ones that are close to us. Well, Dagenham and Redbridge against Southend.
Yeah.
Folkestone and Victor got the real prize draw.
Great draw for Wrexham. Yeah,
Oh, it's
great for
fantastic, that is,
Cogs.
isn't it?
It's a great
Yeah,
win.
that is fantastic.
Cheshunt go to St Albans, and then we've got.
It's nice to see Cheshunt doing well, actually, because they were with us for a few years.
Yeah, they were.
And I got to know the chairman quite well, Vince, and they struggled, at that time. So it's lovely to see them doing well, actually. I used to enjoy going there.
Got a big game this weekend, and they've got Enfield Town 3rd v 4th, so that'll be a humdinger.
Yeah, that'll be a cracker, yeah.
Eastleigh, of course, who knocked out Enfield Town. They've got Nottingham County. Maidstone go to Boreham Wood. You've got Needham Market. They're away to Yeovil, so another cracking tie for.
That's
what a journey that is.
That is, you're right, Keith. That is a hell of a journey.
Oh,
That's going to be an overnight, I think.
No, I'll leave now.
Larkhall have got away to Stockport.
I mean,
Plymouth.
I don't know how Larkhall will view that. I mean, in some ways, it's a great draw to have a club as well known as Stockport County, isn't it? I'm sure they'd love to have been at home and everything else, but I'm sure they'll give a good account themselves.
And of course, the lads who used to be at Salford, down at Spennymoor, and I think now, if I'm right, and they've been drawn at home to Plymouth Parkway. So,
word. Talk about journeys, Keith.
Yeah, that's huge.
Word. My word.
You used to be able to fly down there.
Dave, as you can tell, I hadn't heard the draw today. You're quite right. I hadn't heard the draw till you just told me. So Plymouth Parkway are going to Spennymoor.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's a cruel draw, that.
I mean, I say the full draw is Alfreton Town versus Bradford Park Avenue or Halifax Town. Dagenham versus Southend. Wrexham versus Folkestone Victor. Albans v Cheshunt. York City versus Slough. Stourbridge versus Guiseley. Tonbridge Angels versus Kings Lynn. Southport versus Solihull Motors. Notts County versus Eastleigh. Dartford versus Weymouth. Aldershot Town versus Bromley. Boreham Wood versus Maidstone United. Morpeth Town versus Boston United. Yeovil versus Needham Market. Stockport County versus Larkhall Athletic, and Spennymoor Town versus Plymouth Park.
Plymouth Parkway. Oh, my word. I can remember when Merthyr were in the then Vauxhall Conference, the National League. We had 6 years there, and I used to think, this is our opportunity now. We're going to get to the trophy final, We never did. We got to the quarter final a couple of times. And like Plymouth Parkway, the one year we got the quarter final, we were drawn away at Gateshead. And I couldn't go. The team went the night before, and I couldn't. So I had to drive up that morning, which was a nightmare. We were 2-0 up at Harpersfour, and we lost 3-2. And it was a long journey home, let me tell you. Long journey home.
Well, listen, Anthony, we've got a couple of people joining us now, so please stay on if you feel that
Yeah, happy to if you want me. Yeah.
I mean, and we'll give you a little bit of background before, as we'll let one of them come on as well, giving you a bit of background. So, a few months ago, we had Josh from Paul Town on, and Josh, one of Josh's sort of heroes, shall we say, Keith, he's the man that's just popped up on the right hand side of the screen. Of course, in the legend that is, of course, Mr. James Beardwell. So I spoke to James today and said to James that it'd be fantastic if you would come on tonight as a little Christmas gift for Josh. And hopefully Josh will be on in a minute because, as I say, he's very much a fan of James. And so hopefully Josh will join us later on. So it'll be a nice little sort of Christmas gift. And James has been gracious enough to pop on tonight because he's a very busy man these days. He's James, being in his trolleys and so forth, and being a TV celebrity on the news and all the rest of it. I tell you, he's a superstar these days. Yeah. One of these days we're going to have to pay him to come on, I think, because he's doing so well.
How are you, James?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride this weekend. Like last weekend was a bit of a bumpy ride due to what's going on with the government at the moment, whether we're going back into lockdown or not, because nobody wants a lockdown again, because like there's a lot of uncertainty going on with the government and Boris Johnson at the moment.
Yeah. Hi, James. My name's Anthony. I'm from the Southern League. and I was involved with Merthyr Town, and you're quite well known in Merthyr Town as well, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a couple of messages on Twitter inviting you to Merthyr one day if you fancy a trip.
Yeah, hopefully in the summer I'll sort out a trip and probably will stay overnight in Wales.
Yeah,
It's going to be a long journey because I have 20 and a half years of travelling experience, and I literally know how to get there on the train, and I knew how to get there, which is from London Paddington to Cardiff, I think, and then get on another train into Merthyr Town.
You're right. You're spot on, my friend, and we can meet you there. That's not a problem.
Well, James, I was with you on your last away trip, if you remember.
Guernsey, I remember that.
Yeah. Guernsey, how's that?
I bet that was a good.
Yeah, it was a good trip, and the flight went really well, and flew there independently with Origny Airlines, whatever you call it. I think it's...
Yeah, it was.
That's the one. Yeah, I went on the airline from London Stansted to Guernsey, and it was a really good flight. It was about an hour, 15-minute flight. It was pretty smooth most of the time, and the stewardesses on the plane, they've looked after me very well to make sure I was okay.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. All credit to you, my friend. You're doing more traveling than anybody else I know. More credit to you.
Definitely, yeah, because like I said, I have 20 and a half years of experience on traveling independently, because the first time I've learned in 2001 when I travel independently at my very special sixth form, and the staff helped me how to travel independently in East Sussex, and it really changed my life forever.
Yeah, good. That's brilliant news.
Well, James, we're just waiting for Josh to sort his audio out because he still says he's connecting. So as soon as we get Josh on, he's
excellent.
James, I'll ask you a quick question while we're waiting for that. Have you been back to Whittam at all to watch a game?
Not recently, because like I know there was a lot of people asking me about Whittam Town, and because which I'm not going into too much detail about what happened, because I had to do what I find it more comfortable and do what's best for me. And since I've been with DTFC, which I've been supporting DTFC 2 years ago, a few weeks after the club has been established in 2019, and they've been looking after me so well, the DTFC lads. And I've been treated really, really well at DTFC. And then like DT said, I'm really proud to have you, James, as part of the whole DTFC family, and it brought me a massive smile, because it's feels like it's my new home of DTFC, and because it's not just all about the results, it's about being looked after at DTFC, and the staff and the players, and even a few DTFC fans like Keegan and Jamie. They were superb to me, and they look after me very well, and we got on really, really well at the DTFC matches, week in, week out, especially at the home games. And we had a good laugh as well. We were a superb bunch.
That's great news.
Well, there we go. Josh is here. So, Josh, we promised you the last time you was on, we would try and put you in touch with this legend that you've got right to the left of you. You said you wanted to meet him. So,
yes, yeah.
It might be
Josh.
It might be virtual. It might not be face-to-face just yet. But away you go. So if you've got questions you want to ask James, then by all means, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to ask Josh, and how long you've been a Poole Town supporter?
So I've been at Poole Town since 2016, but I have been a football supporter drummer since March of 2018.
That's fantastic. I remember them. I've made my away day. I used to make my own away day vlogs when I travelled all the way up to Poole, and it was a really good journey. And the train was a little bit delayed though, and it was about an hour 30-minute delay, which I had to go the alternative route onto Vie near Portsmouth and up to the Southampton bit. which he goes, "Well, I haven't." And then because there was an incident between Eastleigh and Basingstoke, so I had to go the alternative route. But at least I got there at the end before kickoff, and it was a really lively atmosphere. It was like really good between the Poole Town fans and the Wimborne Town fans as well. And that was the game I went to visit on my away days, and that was before DTFC was established in 2019, before I supported them.
Okay, yeah. Because I remember you coming. It was the August the 26th, 2019. It was a bank holiday Monday. I just remember it well. I actually saw your video earlier on today before we came on air. So, it's brilliant it was. But I just didn't realise that you were actually at that same game. I wish I came and said hi, but didn't get around to it. I am sorry, but we will meet one day. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We'll sort something out, like when my football team DTFC season's finished sometime in April, and if Poole Town still playing throughout the season, maybe up to May, I will try and come to visit Poole Town again and finally meet you at Poole Town one day, and that'll be really good.
Oh yes, yeah.
James, if the Poole Town chairman is watching, you should ask him to put you up in sandbanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Sandbanks.
Sure, he can arrange that for you.
Yeah, definitely.
I know Mr. Reeves quite well, and I'm sure he will.
He'll take you for a meal at Rick Stein's. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to have a word with him, Josh. But listen, you're both more than welcome to come to Whitstable and meet the Oyster Boys.
That'd be really good, yeah.
The Oyster Boys, where's that, sorry?
Whitstable Town. Lovely place.
Whitstable. Oh, that sounds like Yorkshire way.
No, Kent.
Yeah.
Oh, Whitstable and Kent. Right, okay, yeah. Okay, I'll try and remember that, yeah.
So Josh, what is it about James that you really like? What is it? Is it his videos, his blogs you like, and that? I mean, what was made you a fan of James's?
It was when I actually saw him on the news and newspapers that as James is James, I felt so proud for him for representing non-league football, going to away days. As he says, he is a proud autistic blogger as well, and that really gave me a boost, and kind of followed the steps, and here we are tonight, representing non-league football.
Yeah, that's what non-league football's about, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you something, Anthony. I went to the Merthyr Pool game back in October. I did.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, on Tuesday night, wasn't it, Josh?
Finished 3-0, I think it was. Yeah. It was a good night. It was wet though.
It was wet. You're right. I was watching from a distance, my friend. I wasn't far away, but I was at home that night. But I was following the game quite closely, and you were a little bit too strong for us, unfortunately.
We were. Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Did you enjoy it there?
I did in the end. Yes. Yeah. It was such a good night out. It was. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's about, Josh. It's about going to these other clubs, and I think you, as you find with James and yourself, and as I was the same growing up, as non-league supporters, we have so much in common. We, it is different to go in to see top flight football. It's different because you get to interact and you get to mix, and listen. That's what makes it special, and I think that's what's hopefully increasing the numbers that we've got coming. It's the product we've got.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, lads,
Go on, Dave. We're going to ask the same question. Lads, what games are you at this weekend?
What, me, sorry, or James?
Both of you. You go first, Josh, if you wish.
Okay, so this weekend, Christmas period, isn't it? I am actually in West London on the Monday with QPR and Bournemouth. So sadly, I'm missing the Poole Town away game at Dorchester, part of our Dorset derby, but never mind, just one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Queen's Park Rangers or?
Bournemouth. I'm Bournemouth's away drummer at the moment. Yeah, till the end of the season.
Brilliant. And you, James?
But mainly Paul Sound. Yeah.
We haven't got a game this weekend as we come into the Christmas period, but last Saturday we was meant to be playing away to Jolliffe Sports, but unfortunately the game was postponed due to the COVID outbreak.
Oh.
Yeah, of course.
You're looking for a game to watch this weekend, James. One that you might be able to get to is a bit closer to you. The one I would recommend for you to go and watch this weekend is Cheshunt versus Enfield Town.
Yeah.
It's an Isthmian Premier game, and it's third v fourth, and it's the biggest derby that these two clubs have had against each other in decades. It's going to be absolutely massive. So it's a real good game to look forward to on the 27th.
No.
That sounds
good. James, no. James, get on a train, come down to Kent, Herne Bay versus the mighty Whitstable. You're even wearing the red and white. Okay, the Oyster Boys, you can bang the drum and sing with them. They will love you and you'll love them. Bigger game than it's a bigger game than Andy and Craig Edwards, I'm telling you. Ben Smith's watching.
Really tough one.
Ben Smith, the Herne Bay's manager's watching, and he said he'll buy you pint and fish and chips after the game.
Really?
That's a good offer.
That's a really tough one because they're two really good games there, like Cheshunt and Enfield Town and Herne Bay and Whitstable Town, and it's.
But you're wearing Whitstable colours.
Yeah.
You're wearing the Whitstable colours. It's a natural. It's a fit for you. It's perfect.
The same colour as the DTFC home shirt.
There you go.
Well,
I think it's going to be like a really good game, like both teams, like Whitstable Town and Herne Bay and Cheshunt and Enfield Town. That's a really tough one to choose.
I'm going to sell it to you. Herne Bay, let's go. Cheshunt Enfield has got 0-0 written all over it. Really close game. Okay. Whitstable Herne Bay or Herne Bay Whitstable, it's 5-4 to the mighty Oysters all day long. You're getting your money's worth.
Also, James,
sounds like really interesting. It sounds like a really good game.
James, if you're feeling off colour on Monday, you could always go and you know where it is. You can go and watch Harlow versus Colney Heath.
Yeah.
Make the crowd 1-5-1.
Yeah, because like DTFC play at the same ground at the home games at Harlow Town, which will be ground shared with Harlow Town.
Perfect. I wouldn't recommend Monday to Merthyr because, James, bank holiday Monday, those trains will be shocking.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's going to be like really crowded because I think it will be.
Monday, so I wouldn't recommend that.
I think I'll probably go around about the late springtime because it's a long journey to go from Paddington to via Cardiff and then get on another train.
Whenever you were coming, keep in touch with Dave. And he'll let me know and we'll organise it. So don't worry about that.
Definitely, yeah. Fantastic. Really look forward to it.
Yeah.
I'll see you Monday then. I think I've won.
I think you won now.
Brilliant.
Fish and chips afterwards, isn't it?
Fish and chips at Herne Bay.
There they go.
Oh, would you not?
We used to go to Herne Bay when I was young for holidays, funnily enough. My auntie owned a caravan there in Herne Bay, so I spent many a summer there.
There's plenty of caravans around Herne Bay and Whitstable.
There was what I remember, there was what I remember,
So Anthony, I mean, what game will you be following, shall we say, at the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be glued to everything Saturday, Sunday, Saturday was Christmas Day, but Boxing Day on the 27th, I'll be glued to everything. But I mean, on the Monday, I will be glued to the Merthyr Gate. I'll have somebody there who will keep me updated every other minute of what's going on. But I'll be sitting with the video printer from the Southern League following all the results coming through. And I just hope we can get a full programme going.
And of course, just hope that Tony Gale don't get arrested because, of course, they've got Met Police away. So
that's if he's not still on holiday.
That's a bit harsh. They're doing really well, mind, to be fair, Walton. They Walton Casual's doing exceptionally well.
So, I mean, some of the games, especially in the Southern League, setup, it's Dorchester Pool. Farnborough Swindon Supermarine, Gosport Borough versus Hartley Whitney, Harrow Borough versus Hendon, Hayes and Yedding versus Beaconsfield Town, Kings Langley versus Chesham, Merthyr versus Yate, Met Police versus Walton Casuals, Tiverton versus Western Supermare, Truro versus Taunton, and Wimborne Town versus Salisbury. And in the South Central, we'll go through that one just because we know some of the teams in that, more in that one. So it's Dunstable versus Barton Rovers, Aylesbury versus Tame. And Tame have come on a great run of late. I mean, really have come on from a fantastic run. Probably the biggest game of the weekend, I would have thought, looking at it just quickly, is Biggleswade versus Bedford Town.
Probably.
Harlow versus Colney Heath, Northley versus Kidlington, St Neots versus Kempston, Waltham Abbey versus FC Romania, Wantage Town versus Didcot Town, Ware versus Hertford, and probably another big one actually, Welling Garden City versus Berkhamsted.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's right.
Welling Garden are really on a good run at the minute as well. Yeah, they are flying. But guys, a massive thank you, and we'll come to the end of the show tonight. But Josh, keep in touch, and maybe James will maybe drop me his telephone number if he wants to, and I'll pass it on to you, or you pass your number on to me, and I'll pass it on to James, and then you two can get in contact off the show, and maybe you might even be able to sort something out once COVID calms down a little bit more. And
it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
For you two, young gentlemen under there, we've kept our promise, Josh. I said we would, but we wish you a very Merry Christmas to both of you.
As you guys do.
And keep well, James. Fantastic seeing you again, James. It really is, and keep up all that. Keep up all the good work.
Well done. Keep up a good work, guys.
Thanks.
Well, grand job. And Anthony, listen, mate, I can't even tell you what a pleasure it is. It's made, as I said,
it's been lovely. Nice surprise. Nice surprise, this, Dave. Keith, it's been a nice surprise. It's been it's nice to talk football for a change.
It's made my Christmas, sir, let me tell you.
I appreciate all your support. Thank you.
No
No, brilliant. You stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Have a lovely Christmas, everybody.
And you.
And yourself.
And the rest of your family as well, mate. And
take care.
And Keith, as well, for you and your lovely wife and children. Keep well over Christmas and have a great day. And send your love to your mum and your sister as well for me. And me and Keith, we will be back. I think we're now probably about the 10th. I think I looked at it the last time. 10th of January. We're off for the next 2 weeks for Christmas and the New Year, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. I'm still buzzing. Jenny Barsby and the legend that is Anthony Hughes in one night. You can't get better than that. And of course, Mr. Beardwell coming on as well, and Josh.
Yes.
So,
brilliant. Nice to meet James, actually.
Yeah,
good to meet you too.
Yeah.
But listen, guys, massive thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching throughout the year. And me and Keith will be back in 2022. But until then,